Welcome to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Life presents experiences that add a layer to who we are and how we see the world, affecting how we communicate. Lydia is here to help you take apart the layers and create new ways to connect and build relationships. So now, please welcome the host of Layers of Communication, Lydia Taggart.
Hello, all my friends. It's Lydia Taggart here. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and today we are going to be talking about the layer of responsibility, and it's kind of wrapped up in who's in charge. Who's in charge anyway? We have this combative feeling when we come together with different people, and especially with our teenage children. Who's in charge? Who gets to make the final say? Who gets to contribute, and who gets to share their opinions, and who gets to make the final choice and the final decision? A lot of times we think we're the parents. We think that we have to be the ones in charge and we have to make all the decisions ourselves. And if our teenagers start to share their opinions, common belief is shut them down. Don't let them have their crazy ideas come and influence and mess up our plan, our schedule, our routine. It's my house, my place of being an authority, right? Is that who's in charge? And because we take on this responsibility, we feel so responsible for it. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, why would I want to bring this up? Well, I have 6 kids, right? And they're all going to be teenagers within a matter of weeks, like 2.5 weeks-ish. They're all 6 of them going to be teenagers, officially teenagers right now. They're preteens, 4 of them are. And when they were younger, we would have some sort of experience I was exasperated by, or frustrated, or just overwhelmed by something one of the kids was doing. And I know if you're a parent, I'm sure you've heard this a lot of times too. The people that we talk with and we visit with, sometimes we just want to unload or get it off our chest, or, hey, this is happening. We have to get it out there so that it's not contained and we don't explode. We have to share it somehow, right? And so in these moments, I'm sure you've heard the same response a lot of times. Just wait till they're teenagers. Wait till they're teenagers. What does that mean? Is that supposed to comfort us that they're going to grow up and like be even more crazy? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Well, here I have all 6 of my kids, almost teenagers. Just wait till they're teenagers. Here we are. We're there. What is it like now? Back then, it was, how can I feed them? They won't eat their food. Well, guess what? Last night, I'm still sitting with my almost 13-year-old boy. Eat your food. Why didn't you eat your lunch at school? Why have you not eaten your lunch for the last 3 days at school, 4 days? Why aren't you eating? Well, this sweet boy of mine, he comes to me yesterday afternoon and he says, with pure joy and happiness, Mom, I didn't eat my lunch today. There was a boy at school who didn't have a lunch and I gave him my food. Isn't that great? And he just really, really expected to be praised and, oh, you're so great and giving and thoughtful and compassionate and wow, you're so great. But what I said instead was, you mean you didn't eat your lunch again? It's kind of the same. Just wait till they're teenagers. He's still picky, still doesn't want to eat, still gets so distracted or bored or overly compassionate. He gives his food away all the time. And we had this moment, this oppositional defiance kind of moment where I am the mom saying, eat your food. Rawr. Rawr. Eat your food. I give you this food. It costs money. Blah, blah, blah. You need to eat your food so you can think and process life. You need to eat something. He doesn't care for that flavor. He wanted applesauce instead. And we have this bashing of wills. Like, who's in charge? Who's in charge? And how do we wrap this up in love so that it's not just you need to do what I say because I'm the mom, because I said so, right? We change that around to being, I love you and I don't want you to die. If you don't eat something, you're going to end up dying. People go to the hospital and get food put into them through an IV. If you're not going to eat, we might need to go do that. Where's the love? That's a scare. But there's fear in this, like the bashing of who's in charge. There's always a fear in any kind of confrontation like that. So many years ago, like 13 years ago, when we were first having our quadruplets, we had a traumatic experience. It was actually having the quadruplets was pretty traumatic. Some of us, the parents, we fared a little bit better. We had some experience. We have some tools of support and whatnot. And we came out just fine. But my sweet Dallas was really traumatized by it. And Stephen was as well. Because his entire world, he was like 3 years old. Dallas was 3. And it just totally rocked his world. Every bit of his world was traumatic. And so when we lose that security, that safety, and our world is totally rocked, we want to gain it back. And then it blossoms into this oppositional defiance disorder because we need to be in charge in order to compensate for that traumatic experience. And this is with lots of different scenarios. So this is just our story, but this is the way it works for a lot of ODD situations. And I had never heard of that word or those letters. I guess it's not really a word. That phrase ODD, I'd never heard of that until we were we were having Dallas diagnosed, if you will. We were taking Stephen to get all checked out, and why won't he talk? And we were learning that he had Asperger's, which is on the autism spectrum. And so I said to the doctor, while we're here, find out what's wrong with this other kid too, because he's got some issues. And so he starts listing off all of these letters, and ODD was among them. And in the end, he said, I wouldn't really diagnose him with that or this or that, because he has such a high IQ. And when he's calling you stupid and getting all angry, it's because you really are. And I was like, what? But these letters, the ODD, stood out to me with a few others. And he still carries all of those characteristics. He still carries those traits of easily angered, vindictive, loves to annoy people. Do you know anybody who loves to annoy people? I mean, a little bit more than regular teenagers. Lots of people think it's fun to get a reaction out of somebody else. But people who have ODD, that's one of the things. And I was mentioning this to Dallas the other day, and I was like, okay, I think I have one of these kids with ODD. He's like, yeah, it's me. And I'm like, that's right. It is you. You are right. And he just laughed. It was so great. It's like, yes, I love to annoy people. He just thought that was the greatest thing, to be given the attention and acknowledged and recognized for who he is. And that's where it comes to managing ODD. How do we deal with this? How do I still have a great relationship with someone who is consistently and constantly opposing me and opposing all authority or rules or ideas that we as parents might suggest? Why is this a thing, right? And how do we deal with it? Well, one of the ways that we want to deal with it is to give them that attention. A lot of times, especially when Dallas is sick, he will call for mom. Mom, mom. You know, all kids do that from time to time. And I'll holler back, what do you need? Because I'm not right there. So I say, what do you need? And his answer is amazing and so perfect. He says, attention. I need attention. Isn't that great? We don't need help with finding our socks or making lunch or anything else. He needs attention. And he's not going to tell me what it is he needs until I go and see him. And really, that's all he needs. He doesn't need anything. He needs attention. He is 15 now, almost 16. And I love his honesty. I love his just flat out up front, I need your attention. That's all I need. And I think that comes back to this oppositional defiance disorder. When we have this traumatic experience, and not all ODD comes from trauma, but ours has a lot of trauma wrapped up in it. So we come back to this traumatic experience. How do we deal with the trauma? We need security. We need to know that we're still loved and we still belong and we still crave that attention. So this begs the question, if we don't give attention, if we ignore or neglect, does that then turn into oppositional defiance disorder? There's lots of pathways that it could take. They've found that, and this is fascinating to me, they found that ODD often accompanies ADD and ADHD, so attention deficit disorder. And I think that just makes so much sense. If we've had some sort of reason why we're not getting attention, or we have like our base for our hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, our base, our security is missing, then where do we got to find it. We need to find it. And if we're not finding it around, we're going to keep looking for it and get distracted with any shiny object along the way and act out trying to find a security spot. And what better way to be secure than to be in charge? Are you having a hard time letting other people be in charge because you don't feel secure? That's worth thinking about. It's worth considering. Because the cure, if you will, to dealing with how we manage our ODD is to let the teenager be in charge of something. Let them have that responsibility and make some decisions on their own. Where does ODD come from? Now, this was a great story. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there were farmers, and just everybody pretty much was a farmer. And if you didn't farm, then you didn't have food to eat. That was kind of the base of society. You needed to grow your own food. And way back then, they married very young. If you read Romeo and Juliet, you're like, wow, they're like 13, 14 years old. That's so young. But back then, as soon as you hit puberty, you were considered an adult. And you got married and you moved out and you had your own farm started. As soon as you're old enough to come up and say, hey, Dad, I think you're running the farm wrong. I think I have a better idea. They didn't say anything like, respect your elders, or I'm the dad, it's my farm, I'll do what I want. They didn't do that. What they said was, oh, great, look, he's turning into a man. He's grown up. All right, you go over there and grow your own farm with your own ideas. Go do your thing. And it wasn't ever an adolescence kind of ODD thing. So biologically, we still have all of these. We're growing up. We hit puberty. We're ready to be an adult physically. Some people debate that, but really, all those feelings are there. All of that, what used to be called maturity, is there when you are able to voice your opinion. They used to have pride in that. They used to say, go and do your thing. I'm proud of you. You're growing up. Have that corner of the farm over there. And after I'm done with my plow for the day, then you can use it and just grow up and be a man. And then the Industrial Revolution happened. If I can talk today. The Industrial Revolution. And people needed to go to school. They started making them go to school instead of staying and working on the farm. And they were not allowed to go and get married. They needed to grow up first, and which I support. My kids are not dating until they're 16 years old. So they can get more maturity, and there's so much more in the world now. We're not just farmers. There's a lot to deal with. There's a lot more emotions and a lot more everything to deal with in the world these days. I wonder if those emotions are like hard to deal with because we don't allow them to be in charge and take that responsibility. Our goal as parents is to have our kids grow up and they be fully functioning, self-reliant, self-sufficient, all on their own kind of adults. We want to be there for them and love them and help them, but we want them to be out on their own and grow up and have their own family and do their own job and be an adult. Our job as parents is to be raising adults. It's not just to hover around our kids all the time. And so there's this transition now called adolescence, where we get to try and manage emotions and things like this, where before we just like, great, that's great. And back then, when they were working on the farm, there was no self-esteem issues. And we think maybe we just didn't talk about it. Maybe it was there, but they just didn't talk about it. Well, if you think about it, they'd sit down to dinner at night and they say, I made that bread. I made that table. I made this. Whatever they were doing, they contributed and they made it. And they got to be like, oh, I did that. Yeah, I'm providing for my family. I'm doing what I need to. I'm contributing to the world. Poof, self-esteem awesomeness. Wah-wah. And then we send them to school and we tell them, you're failing and you're not good enough to be on the cheer team, or you have to fit in and wear the right kind of jeans and have the right kind of haircut. And we tell them all of this stuff that is not supporting self-esteem. Why don't we give them a responsibility and let them be in charge of something? They're asking for so many things and we just give it to them. Oh, we give them allowance and we give them a ride to whatever party they want, or, you know, we're so lenient and give them everything. So many parents say, well, I want them to have a better life than what I had. I want them to have what I never could. And so we try to provide all these things for them. When it comes down to it, we need to let them have some responsibility. That's what they really want. They don't know what it's called and they don't know what it looks like because it's so rare in the world now to have a responsible teenager. But it's not impossible. And they do exist. Responsible, fun, good kids do exist. And oh my goodness, now here they are, almost all teenagers, all of them ready to step into this adolescence transition to be a real adult. And I'm pretty happy about it. I don't think that's what people were meaning when they said wait until they're teenagers. I don't think that's what they meant. But here I am going, wow, I am pretty blessed. I got some really good kids, and boy, am I so lucky. My oppositional defiant disorder son, Dallas, you'd think that that would be the biggest challenge. You'd think that that would be fighting all the time, arguing all the time. And I learned how to deal with it, and how to manage it, even how to have joy in that. That he has his own ideas, and they are good ideas. So this is one of the reasons why I became a parent coach, because, oh my goodness, if you could love and enjoy your teenagers the way that I love and enjoy my kids, I just want to share that with everybody in the world. So here's one example of how awesome it is, Kay. Yesterday when I was talking with Dallas, he was sick the day before. So he had a fever and everything, and so he stayed home from school. And I had this conversation with him that I wanted to do blah, blah, blah. And he says, okay, I know what I need to do. You know what you need to do. Go do it, Mom. I won't bother you. I know it's your work day, and I won't interfere with you doing all your work. I was like, okay. That's a very grown-up way of saying, I'm going to go play on my video games. But before that, I had given him a little list, and it wasn't a big list. It was a little list of things that I really needed him to do. I needed him to start his laundry and a few other things anyway. So I went down to check on him later, and I was like, did you do your stuff? He's like, yeah, of course I did. If I hadn't, I wouldn't be playing my video game, because we have this set of expectations that if he's going to have his own plan and his own agenda, it needs to fit in with our bigger family plan and the family's agenda. So he has like a framework set up that he can play within. And I think that's really, really an incredible concept that a lot of people don't have, this idea that you can have rules and they can have freedom and choice and agency within those boundaries. And you can have that respect. So he says, okay, I know what I need to do. You know what you need to do. Let's go do it. Well, he came back up to my office to check on me later. He's like, how's it going, Mom? How's that article going that you're writing? How's your book? How's the stuff? I brought you lunch. And mind you, lunch was toast, because that's the easy way out. And he's all for easy. But he brought me lunch. He came to check on me. He's supporting and encouraging me. And he knows that the topic of discussion was him and his ODD. And how awesome that is, that he's willing to accept it and deal with it in a responsible manner, because I allow him to have his agency and I let him be in charge of things, because he is, like all of my other teenagers, he is growing up to be an adult. We struggle with teenagers because we want them to stay kids. Or a lot of times I see parents, we haven't really taught them everything that we want to. We feel guilty. We want to go back and recapture the things that we've missed if we've worked too long, or we've missed one of their baseball games, or, we have this guilt in us that's holding us back, and we pull our kids back with it because we don't want bad results. We just don't want bad results. And we're afraid that if we allow them to go on and progress and make their own choices, we're afraid that somehow, because we haven't taught them right, they're going to make bad choices, and it's going to reflect on us. And it only reflects on us when we let it. If we can allow them to be their own people and support them in their goals and their aspirations, give them somewhere to play and work within a framework, and let them experience life so that they can be a fully functioning adult and not be one of these people who, you might not be there all the time. You probably eventually one day we're all going to die. And even if they're staying at home until they're 45 and they're maybe we have a good relationship like that where they're going to support me and it's a good cooperative thing. Maybe we need to help them financially or whatever the case may be. One day, we're not going to be there to protect them and provide for them in every manner. One day we will die. And what will their reaction be? Will they be okay to deal with that and be on their own? I mean, other than the sorrow and the loss and whatever they have for us as their parents leaving this life. That's another thing we can prepare them for too. But will they be able to be a fully functioning adult and support themselves if we're not there? Emotionally, more than financially or any other way. Will they be able to handle their own thoughts and their ideas and do something with it if they have an idea? We let them practice now when they're younger, when they're teenagers. Let them practice, right? We practice tying our shoes. Sometimes we give up and we just get Velcro ones or slip-on shoes. We can practice. Some things we can't give up on and get another substitute. If we're going to be able to make decisions and being in charge and having a responsibility, there's no substitute for that. You can't get a Velcro responsibility version. Velcro version of responsibility. There we go. You can't do that. There's only a responsibility and being in charge. There's no other way to do that. You either are or you're not. And the only way to do it is to practice and to trust them and trust that they will make a good choice. And then if not, they'll learn from it. We learn from it. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, because we're human. And that is part of being human, is making mistakes. So when we have ODD or any other being in charge issue, there's a lot of little layers and levels to this who's in charge and conflict resolution. It's lots of parts of that. But I want to suggest that we love them, love ourselves, trust them, and trust ourselves. And trust that everything's going to work out okay. It's all going to be okay. If we make a mistake, which we will. But I should say, when we make the mistake, we can learn from it and be better next time. Okay. We're almost at the end of the show. So I just want to wrap up with this. Remember, you are worth it. And so are they. Letting them have that responsibility, take that stress off of you, lets them grow and learn. Teenagers are awesome. Oh my goodness, they're just so awesome. They're excited for life. They're excited for the world. Most of them. Some of them get a little confused and stressed out and worried. We can help them through that better when we let them have a responsibility. Let them have that pride and grow that self-esteem in putting the bread on the table, so to speak. Let them contribute to the world. Let them contribute to the family. And let them have their agency. As much as I want my agency, I value my agency to choose. And I want my kids to appreciate and value and know how to use their agency. All right. This is Layers of Communication. I'm Lydia Taggart. Thank you for being here with us today. Remember, you are worth it, and so are they. See you next time.
You've been listening to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Tune in next week as we discover the layers in order to communicate and connect down to your core on Lydia Taggart's Layers of Communication.